Hello and welcome to FootballShock, a new football podcast. We're a group of guys from Luton and our uni mates. We'll quick go around and introduce ourselves. First of all, I'm John. I support Luton Town. Going on, we've got Kieran
Yeah, Kieran, I support Leeds United.
and we've got Shay down the road.
Yes, I'm a big Arsenal fan, and my name is Shay.
And over to James.
Yep, my name's James and I'm a Manchester United fan.
Unfortunately.
So, first of all, guys, I think we need to talk about what happened last weekend. All right, let's talk Premier League.
Which game do you want to start with?
Yeah, which game should we
Where do you
start with?
start? That's the question. Where do you start? What a
Let's
weekend, eh?
let's start with Chelsea Southampton. That was a 3-3 draw, right?
That was, yeah.
I mean, you don't even know what to say with that game. It sums up how the league's been so far in terms of goals going in. But I think Shay will agree with me on this one. Lampard's under huge pressure now because how can you spend that much money and still have a defence that's letting in 3 goals to Southampton? It's just poor.
So when it comes to Chelsea, it's a bit of a weird one because when I look at that squad that they've got there, the Havertz, the Werners, the Chilwells, even Kante's, I look at a team that should be there or thereabouts in terms of challenging for the Premiership.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think in certain instances, Lampard's lack of managerial experience has showed. And I'll give you an example. At the Hawthorns against West Brom, Thiago Silva gets off the plane from traveling across the channel from France, yeah? The guy cannot speak a word of English, yeah? First game in England, yeah? And Lampard gives him the armband. Literally gives him the armband. He cannot speak English.
I mean, to me, though, that Thiago Silva signing is just... It smacks of a bit of desperation for me. Chelsea's defence has been poor. They needed a centre-back, and they've thought, right, we'll get... Thiago Silva's on a free, he's got experience, we'll get him. He's finished, he's washed. He is the type of player, if I'm honest, I expected Arsenal to sign. Because he is just a washed player. And I think at the age he has come as a Premier League, he's not going to make any difference. It's just a poor signing for me overall anyway. And you're seeing that already.
I'd argue, though, it's the impact that he's going to have on the rest of the players around him, though. It's not necessarily... His speed might be declining and things like that. And the pace of the Premier League is normally a lot higher than the other leagues. But Zuma could use a bit more confidence around him. Kepa in goal was an absolute liability. I mean, the second goal that they conceded.
I mean, we haven't even.
It was a poor pass from Zuma back to him. But I mean, what the fuck are you supposed to do about that? Do you know what I mean?
That brings up another question for Lampard as well. Like, how long can he let that go on? Because Kepa, as a goalie, confidence is your. I mean, that's your main. That's what you need. Confidence is essential for a goalie, and it is obvious that his confidence is shot to pieces at the minute. He has been a liability since the start of this season and into last season.
And the thing with Kepa, the scary thing is that Kepa is on a 7-year contract. A 7-year contract. He's still got 5 years left.
I mean,
which is
terrifying. He's got more
basically.
job security than the Queen on that. Like, this is ridiculous.
To think he's the most expensive goalkeeper ever as well. I mean,
it's embarrassing. But I mean, we need to get on some of the other games. Who did Arsenal have last weekend? Was it
Manchester City, mate? And I think they lost away again.
I forgot that. Let's discuss that. Say, I want to let you get your excuses in early because I just want to hear what you've got to say about this because for those who don't know, when in our group chat, when Arsenal lose, Shay does his best John Cena impression. So we can't see him now, but we can hear him. So what you got to say, Shay?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no excuses. A loss is a loss. And to be honest, I did expect us to lose the game. We're not competing with them, Chelsea, which are the 2 big ones for Arsenal fans, and Man United, and maybe Everton and Leicester. We're playing Leicester next, actually. The game against City, totally down to tactics. Mr. Arteta, as I call him, he got it wrong slightly. He played William down the middle, I believe, which was poor for me. But I take the L on the chin and we move on. We move on to the next game.
The thing is, it is Manchester City. Do you know what I mean? And losing against them, it's not too bad, even without.
No, but the problem I have.
Their defence was there to get at.
Yeah,
especially after that Leicester result.
That. I'm sorry. I mean,
and you don't even play a striker down the middle.
You've seen teams get at Man City, and Arsenal, despite their frailties, have got a front line that's worth a lot of money. And that could have done a lot of damage. And Arteta, this is what I argue about Arteta, with everyone lauding him and saying how he's changed Arsenal. No, all he's done is make it harder to break down by playing 5 at the back. That does not.
What he's done is he's made us harder to beat, and he's taken a team that, let's be honest, when he took over, the season was was appalling. And it still was not a great season. But the fact that he salvaged something with that team, and you could say, oh, he finished 8th, but at the end of the day, he came halfway through the season. And he took a team that literally was getting battered and bruised everywhere. And, you know, played against City in the Cup, beat them, played Klopp in the Premier League, no excuses, beat them, then schooled Chelsea in the final. So, you know, Bielsa couldn't do that. Bielsa couldn't do it. Ollie couldn't do it either.
These are one-off fucking games. These are games that are just one-offs. There has been no significant improvement because, like I said, all he's done is, yes, he's made you harder to beat. I can't deny that. But he's done it by playing.
So that is an improvement then, isn't it?
Well, if you're hard to beat,
then that is an improvement.
I could sit there on 8 million a year and be like, I'll play 5 at the back and make it harder to beat. It doesn't take a fucking genius.
No,
we're gonna see with Arteta because we're gonna see with Arteta.
Mikel Arteta,
when he does get
a lot of players have come a long way.
When he does get his players in, he will.
Okay.
We're going to see, because if he gets his players in and still plays his style of football, there's no excuses. Because let me tell you, if Mourinho was doing this, you would be the first person to say it's negative and he was parking the bus, would you not?
No, I wouldn't. No.
Lies.
I've said many times, football is about winning games. I don't care how we win. I would play boring football every week to win 1-0. I do not care. It's about getting the job done. And Mikel Arteta has improved. Wait, hold on, let me finish. Hold on. Mikel Arteta has improved a good number of players at the club. Kieran Tierney's come a long way. Bukayo Saka's come a long way. He even persuaded Aubameyang to stay. Yeah, he convinced Partey to leave a Champions League club like Atletico, a top club, you know, to come to Arsenal. Yeah, he sold him the vision. A lot of players have come a long way under Mikel Arteta, and these are good signs. I'm not saying he's going to win the league because I believe he needs more, but to say he hasn't improved anything generally is just nonsense. The guy won a trophy, and football's about winning trophies. Leeds and Man United, when was your last trophies? Yeah, that's right. Next question, John.
Well, we just won a trophy a couple of months ago, but
it's embarrassing.
James, what's your
you class the championship as
hang on,
you
Shay,
claim you're a big club, but you class the championship as the top.
Pipe down. You've had your moment. Pipe down, James. What's your thought?
With Arteta, I generally think he's doing a good job at Arsenal. He's turned it around. The biggest thing, regardless of whether you're playing 5 at the back or 4 at the back, he's got confidence back into the team, and I think that's the biggest thing more than anything. And you can criticise 5 at the back if you want to, but at the end of the day, Chelsea did it under Conte and kind of revolutionised the league when they did it.
Yeah, that
ended up winning the league.
That is a good point, but we'll see.
Mr. Agenda didn't mention that. Mr. Agenda didn't mention that. Go on.
Well, no, hang on. At the end of the day, we can sit here and talk shit about all we want, but I told you you'll finish 7th this season, thereabouts with Arteta, and we'll find out at the end of the season, but we need to move on to, I think, our main topic.
I mean, Kieran, the fact that Arsenal lost 1-0 against City, Leeds drew 1-1 with City, and surely that means something about the team at the moment.
About Leeds? I mean, yeah, we can actually, I mean, this is a good link in to talk about the Leeds game Monday, because I know obviously Shay enjoyed seeing us lose. And at the time, I was very pissed off after that game. Not because I think we played very badly or we got outplayed. Just the shitty goal that we fucking it's. I don't know if you saw it, the massive deflection. It's like losing 1-0 on FIFA to a sweaty goal. It's just annoying. It's just like, if they cut us open with a bit of quality, it's easier to take. But on reflection, I think I said at the start of the season, looking at our first 5 games, if we got 7 points from them, it would be a good start. That's what we got. So it was disappointing Monday, but on the balance, we've had a great start to the season. I mean, you bring up the City game, and this is what I said about Arsenal. They didn't go for them. Leeds went for them with a team that cost a lot less. And I mean, I'm just, as a Leeds fan, I'm happy to see us back in the Premier League, and I'm happy we're not parking the bus and we're just going for every team. And we will lose a few games, but so be it. Because I think
you went toe to toe with City. I watched that game as well. I mean, you can't be mad at that. And I think that's what we're saying about Arsenal. Arsenal just didn't seem like they wanted it.
Exactly. And that was what I was trying to say. But yeah, in terms of Leeds, we've been, I mean, I'm sure all our games have been entertaining. We've gone for teams, and that's all I can really ask. Like I said, I think we'll finish around 11th, 12th, and I'll be more than happy with that, to be honest.
Which was a very bold statement at the start of the season, but I think people are starting to actually kind of accept that now, aren't they?
Because because if you look at statistics, we were either first or second in nearly every statistic of the Championship last year. we will outwork a lot of teams. And if you outwork teams, you will win games because even if you don't have the quality, just the pure work rate will get you points. And I felt, I mean, if you watch the first half on Monday, we were all over Wolves, and Wolves were a very, very good team. So it was disappointing to lose. But I think on Monday Night Football, they were saying we had more of the ball than Liverpool and Man City when we played them, which is
Did
ridiculous.
you win those games though?
Yeah.
Hang on, we got one.
You
We
didn't
got
win
more
either
points.
of the games.
You
didn't win.
We got more points from you.
So
we got
wow,
more
you got
points from
one
those
more
games.
point than we did. So
But
what?
that's one more point
Look, the
more
only
than you
stat
have.
that matters about football is the end result. You didn't win.
Okay, and
Yes,
so
you
we got
played
more
well,
points than
but
you.
you lost against Liverpool.
We've got more points than you.
You drew against City because Edison fumbled the ball and gave your bum striker a goal.
It doesn't matter. We got the draw.
Yeah.
You didn't.
You lost against Wolves. Wolves were the better team. You lost, so you didn't win any of those games. You didn't win.
I don't know. Wolves, I heard, was a pretty 50-50 game.
Rubbish, absolute nonsense. We got more points.
What? So did you win any of those 3 games?
Yes,
you
we
didn't.
lost, but they didn't outplay us. It was a very. We had the first.
No.
Half, the
They didn't.
half.
They didn't outplay you, but you still lost. So it doesn't matter.
Right.
You lost.
But we got more points than Arsenal in those 2 big games. That's a fact.
Who cares? Football is the Premier League, the 38-game season.
Yeah,
but if it's about 38-game season, Shay, getting more points over those, over 5 games or whatever, or over those 2 games, that surely counts for more.
Do you know what I mean?
No, it doesn't, because the only thing that counts is the end table is what counts.
Even in TV shows, because you're pointless, bruv. Nothing.
Right, guys, let's move on.
My nan is a fan of that show. Go fucking join a podcast talking about that.
Go on, JD. Move on, JD. Go on. Go on.
Right, guys, we've got to talk about United. Yeah, after their absolute shambles versus Spurs, they've done 3 against Newcastle. So, what do we think of the improvement? Is this going to be a permanent thing for the season?
James, you go first on this.
I mean, the thing with Man United is.
Oh, Shay's going for it. All right, go for it.
United are a big club. They're a huge club, global club. Have done a lot for English football, and they've had some great times. But unfortunately, I think Man United's time of dominance and winning titles is over, unfortunately. And that's not a diss to Man United fans. I don't like United, but I do respect them because they've had some good players and they've done a lot for English football. But realistically, under Solskjaer, Man United will not win the league with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He'll take you to a point where someone else will come and take over and maybe win it, but they won't win the league with Solskjaer. Man United are... I've never seen the gap between Liverpool and Man United so big in my lifetime. The gap is huge. And unfortunately, as long as Mr. Klopp is on Merseyside and Pep is at City, I think we're very, very hard for Man United to win the Premier League. I don't think they'll win it. I think they're going to go on like a Liverpool type run where they're going to go many, many years about the title. It's almost 10 years now. So
I mean, James,
James,
what's your thoughts on what you're seeing so far from United? I know you were really angry. You've had a couple of good results the last 2 times you're out, but what's your thoughts now? You've kind of balanced out with a couple of wins.
It's honestly, it's so hard to say because we have the brilliant end to the season that we had last year, where we just I can't remember how many games it was unbeaten, maybe like 18 or something in a row. And you're just thinking, when Bruno came into the team, you're just suddenly thinking, oh, everything's coming together. We found that missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle. Now in the summer, the owners will help build around that, fill in those 1 or 2 positions that we need to really sort of put depth to the squad. And to be blunt, I was fuming about the transfer window. I'm not happy with it. Don't get me wrong, I like some of the players that we bought. In Tellez, I think that's a good signing. Van der Beek, I think that's a good signing. And I think we got them both on good prices. And the 2 youngsters that we bought could be brilliant, but who knows? And Cavani just absolutely stank of a last minute
desperation.
Yeah. It could come good. Who knows? But it's just hard to say. And then we start the season off the way we did. Absolutely terrible against Palace. Absolutely terrible against Brighton. Yet we got lucky. We scored a goal after the final whistle went.
Penalties after the final whistle.
It was ridiculous. And then Tottenham, we just got absolutely humiliated. And even though people
I remember I'm turning off. Let me know how it finishes. Comment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, United fans can point to the sending off of Martial if they want to, but I think we'd all be realistic to the point that we were getting outplayed even before that. I mean, we weren't 1-0 up within the first minute, and within the 7th minute, we're already 2-1 down. I mean,
I mean,
it was
yeah.
just embarrassing.
The thing is with United, I mean, as a Leeds fan, I have to firstly say that I can't stand United for obvious reasons. But I mean, like my granddad and my uncle are big United fans, so I do have an interest in how they do, purely because I can just bully them about it. But just I think to understand what's going on at United now, you have to take it back to when Fergie left. When Fergie left, he left a team that was aging and needed to be rebuilt.
I thought that, yeah.
He then entrusted Moyes with it, who I think had the credentials to do well, but I don't think, because I think was it David Gill left when Fergie left as well?
It was, and I always think that's not talked about enough. Yeah.
Moyes, I think, was just thrown in at the deep end, wasn't backed enough. I mean, his first window, he bought in Fellaini, and that was pretty much it.
On deadline day as well. Yeah, overpriced as well,
and that's been the habit. You won't back your managers until it's too late. I think Mourinho said when he was there, like, I needed defenders, and they were like, "No, you're not getting anything else." And
he wanted Maguire. That's the thing, and we didn't want to cop up 70 million for him. I think in that transfer window, and then in the next one we go and cop up 80 for him. So we pay even more for him.
It's just a constant cycle of right, we'll bring players in. Then the manager doesn't do enough, so you bring a new manager in who doesn't like those players, who now wants to bring more players in, and it's just a constant cycle. And I think in terms of Solskjaer, United have finally said, right, we just need to stick with this guy for a few years, accept we're going to be shit, give him time to rebuild this club, basically. But what you're finding with Solskjaer is he is very good at sitting back and hitting teams on the break, which works so well against City and PSG and teams like that. But when he's playing the Brightons of this world, who are like, happy for United to have the ball, they've still got no idea about how to break them down. I mean, that was what Bruno was brought in for, but he seems to have just gone off the boil in terms of doing that.
I don't know. His goal involvements are still ridiculous since he's come into the league. And I wouldn't even, this is the funny thing, I wouldn't really even point to that Brighton game, because we can say we struggle against the smaller teams because they sit back against us. But to be honest, they were all over us. We were the ones without the ball.
Well, I mean? Because I think that is because Solskjaer's main tactic is, right, sit back, hit them on the breaks. And now you're trying to do that against teams like Brighton. But the thing is, if you give a team that much of a ball, they are going to find ways through you when you're. I mean, Harry Maguire at the minute, I mean, I've always rated Maguire, but at the minute his head is all over the place, and because of that, you can see the holes in your defence. I mean, he looked so much better yesterday without him.
I mean, PSG, that's the one which is the one thing which is a bit annoying about Solskjaer and his management in some ways. We go on these sort of runs where things aren't going well, and then he tends to just pull out a result out of nowhere. I think last year we were struggling for a while, and then we go and beat Manchester City, and then suddenly everything seemed a bit rosy again. And but the PSG performance was so good, all over the team.
The problem is, look, he got the job off of a very good run he had at the start, and that was a great run. He had some good results. Won in Paris, had them playing confidently again, and then once he signed the contract, it just went downhill again. So was the board too quick to give him the job based on that run, or because do you think if they had waited to the end of that season, he would have got the full-time contract? Because it went well at first, but then it just went downhill.
Because that run he had, there is no way you can offer him the job full-time. There's just no way.
But I agree with Shay. If we'd have waited till the end of that season, if the results stayed exactly the same as they did, rather, if he hadn't got offered the job at the point he did, it was a very poor end to the season. So
poor end to the season, yeah.
As the owners at that point, you probably second guess yourself. But I think at the time they just saw the run he was on, saw how because we'd had a very toxic relationship, fans, with Mourinho. Even though I think everyone respected him and appreciated what he did the season before, it was just so negative around the club, the style of football we were playing, the relationship he had with Pogba, and it was just in the papers all the time. And getting Ole in, who's a club legend, it just pleased all the fans with all the results that were happening, and it just seems like the easy option for them.
But I think what is key to remember about it though is when he was given the contract, Roy Keane on Sky said something which is always stuck in my brain, that these are the same players that threw Mourinho under the bus, and they'll do exactly the same thing to Ole, because there is certain people in that dressing room, Pogba, who I think they're bigger than the club. There's a reason Fergie got rid of Pogba, because despite how talented he is, he thinks he's bigger than the club. He's openly in press conferences talking about how he'd like to play for Real Madrid. Could you imagine a player doing that when Fergie was there? Could you imagine Beckham? I mean, it's not been as brazen in terms of what Pogba's been doing, and Beckham was out in his ear. Could you imagine if Pogba did that with Fergie in charge?
The only difference is when Fergie was in charge, though, compared to Ollie, I suppose, in this point, he had a title-winning team. So if he got rid of a player, you could plug it with another player. Whereas now you get rid of someone with the class of Pogba, that's a massive hole to fill.
It's a good point.
To be honest, I hate to say it, but the marketing aspect of having Pogba in the team is massive.
That was just what I was going to say. Yeah, the reason Pogba's still in, the reason Ozil's still at Arsenal, not being funny, other than their contracts, it's the shirts that they sell.
I think that's a nice tie-in to what we initially wanted to discuss. A lot of news this week about the European Super League? Basically, they want to bring in.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I mean, we'll start because this has kind of been the culmination of 2 weeks of just decisions that are purely about money. We have the £15 charge a couple of weeks ago. There's not a lot this group will agree on, but we all agree that is a fucking disgrace. It is an absolute fucking joke.
Can't stand it.
If I'm paying £10 a week to watch Luton play in the Championship, it goes a long way for the club.
Yeah,
and it's
I get that.
Worth it. However, in the Premier League,
they're
not reliant on the tickets.
It's a fucking disgusting. And do you know what really pissed me off with it? When they came out with it, their reasoning was, I've actually got the quote up here, right? Their reasoning was, we cannot continue to give away the products for free. I didn't realise BT Sport and Sky Sports were free.
Exactly.
It's absolutely ridiculous that can be said. How on earth can you say that we can't give away our product for free when we get ripped off in this country to watch football. Let's get it right. We get ripped off. BT Sport and Sky Sports yearly subscription costs. I don't have the exact figures here, but they are ridiculous. So they get more than enough money from TV deals. I think the TV deals around the world are worth billions, aren't they?
I was going to say as well, I believe I'm not sure if you guys know this channel or this app or something called DAZN. I think you can buy that in like America or Canada for like $10 a month. And you get access to every single football game. All 3 o'clock kickoffs, 5:30, 8 o'clock, whatever. You get boxing, you get all those sports, everything, $10 a month. And yet we're paying £15 just for one-off game. And I saw something about it, like because of the Newcastle United game the other day. And it was a good point. It was from the Newcastle supporters trust or something like that. It's bad enough being what it is, £15 per game. But teams like, for instance, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, we already get probably about 25 games at least televised on the normal slots. Mm-hmm. If you're a team like Newcastle, you're only going to get maybe about 18, 17.
They could theoretically be paying for 3 games a month. If this, it looks like at the minute we're not going to have fans back in stadiums until next season, possibly. So if this goes on until the end of the season, you could have teams possibly having 3 games a month on pay-per-view, really.
It's just unfair, I just think, again, on the lower teams. You know what I mean? Because they're the ones that have to pay for it.
In large parts of the country, you can't even have mates around to watch it with you at the minute.
So you can't even share the cost. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Exactly. And what makes me laugh even more is these clubs have been selling season tickets to games obviously fans can't go to. So now not only have fans shelled out for that, I think if you don't buy a season ticket, you lose your place, basically. You now are being asked to spend £15 to watch it at home. It's attempted robbery, as far as I'm concerned.
Wait, so with that,
attempted robbery.
With that, if a fan pays for a season ticket, how most, or pretty much all of the football teams these days have their own TV channel. Do they not get to watch the games on there for free?
Well, in the Championship last few leagues, the games that weren't on TV were put on LUTV, and I think it was a tenner to watch it. But I think if you're a season ticket holder, you might have got it included. But that's what it's attempted robbery. Because how can you? There's been sold season tickets, and then being asked to pay more to watch the games. It's incredible.
The best thing I heard about this was fans are so outraged by it that they've actually been donating £15 to charities and food banks and stuff.
I want to say
wicked as well.
Which I was going to say, at least
I think
that's come out of it.
16 grand for food banks at the weekend. And I hope no one fucking buys it. Personally, for me, the Leeds game tomorrow against Villa is on box office. I'll be going to the fucking pub to watch it because I might end up spending more in the pub, but at least I'm supporting a local business.
Support your small businesses.
Because it's the principle. To me, it's the principle. And luckily, I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford to go down the pub. But there'll be a lot of Leeds fans tomorrow who've got kids who can't afford to do that. So how the fuck do they get to watch their team? It's just embarrassing.
Well,
It
another
is.
thing, obviously, is the big rise in illegal streams. Obviously, we all know people that have been doing it. Do we think that's going to continue throughout the rest of the season, or do you
It's going
think
to, of course,
people
it's going to continue.
cave
It's going
course,
to
in?
push people to streams. It's
People
going
not
to
going to
push them
cave
to
in?
stream.
Look, I mean, look. The thing is, yeah, I think it's very insensitive during this pandemic for them to even do this, basically, because we're having mass unemployment up and down the country. People can't feed their kids, and for them to sit there and come up with this during the pandemic is an absolute disgrace, and it shows the total disconnect between the average working class person in this country, football fan, and the elites who run these networks. They just don't give a shit. So I support fans going to the pub, which is what I would do, and streaming. If you have to do it, because where does it end? First is
Oh,
pay per
well,
view.
I mean, that leads into our next point about this EuroLeague that's been proposed in terms of where does it end? Because this thing that's been proposed, I mean, this kind of comes surfaces every couple of years that the big teams want to form a Super League. And my question to that is it inevitable that this will happen? Because I think JP Morgan want to put up $6 billion for it. I mean, with that kind of money being thrown about, is it inevitable that the big clubs eventually one day will do it?
You've got to think about the logistics of it, though, Kieran, haven't you? I mean, if Arsenal are suddenly playing the likes of City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, if they're still doing 3-game weeks like they do in the Premier League come the end of the season, they're not going to be able to hack it. Not just Arsenal.
I mean,
don't get me wrong.
This is what it leads into as well. These venture capitalists who want to do it, they're not going to be interested in where the games are in terms of fans. They're going to be interested in where the games are in terms of money. Because ideally, they'd probably want Barca v Liverpool in Shanghai because it would make money. This is where they're going to go with it because they want to. And notice FIFA have backed it because FIFA have got a track record of saying, we want to grow the game. So they give the World Cup to fucking Qatar and then think, no, it's actually too hot in the summer. We've got to move it to fucking winter after they've already given it to them.
Well, we all know that was rigged anyway.
Exactly. FIFA have got a track record of doing this. And it's just going to, I mean, like I said, to me, I think one day it's going to happen because the money being thrown around for it. But if it does, it will kill the English game. It really will. You have teams you're going to have big teams in the Premier League who aren't quite at that level, like Everton and Newcastle and teams like that, who will then effectively be competing in what is the Championship. It will be like, if you win it, well done, it's a good achievement, but it's not a big deal. That's what the Premier League will turn into. Do
you think there'd still be a promotion relegation system from the Premier League to the European Super League?
Well, that's what I don't even know. They haven't really even cleared that up, have they?
No. If the big clubs have their way, no. You can see in, I think, Project Big Picture, they wanted to say, so the top 6 would have voting power for the rest of the league. And it would take basically 3 seasons of them underperforming to be replaced by someone in the voting committee.
Yeah.
So the worry is as well, it would just create a bigger divide on top of it because the amount of money that the bigger teams would then be making.
It's ridiculous.
The teams like you're saying, like Everton or Newcastle, someone that might get stuck in an English league, wouldn't be generating anywhere near as much money as well because the bigger teams have then left. So then for them to try and bridge that gap, if there was a promotion sort of system, it just would be almost impossible for them. and on top of it, if they're only doing it from the 5 biggest European leagues, so what, Spain, France, England, Germany, and Italy. What about teams in, for instance, like Portugal, like Porto, Benfica?
Yeah, exactly.
Shakhtar Donetsk yesterday went and beat Real Madrid with, from what I heard, almost a B team. So there are big teams all around Europe. Yes, Shakhtar Donetsk might dominate the Ukrainian league, but they deserve to compete in a system.
Well, that's
like
their big thing, isn't it? They expect to win the Ukraine league every year. Their big thing is Europe because that's where they get tested.
But the way you started this, when you said it's all about the money, and let's be honest, that's what it boils down to as well, don't it?
Yeah.
100%.
If they find out that they'll be able to make more by keeping it the way it is, then they will do that.
They will, but I mean, from what I've seen, the money on offer for this is absolutely ridiculous. And that is why I say, to me, it's inevitable that one day it will happen because the money will get to a level where the big clubs will not turn it down because they already want to do it. I think the logistics, you said the logistics is the main problem, especially now in this like travel ban world we're living in. But I think one day it will happen, and it will be a very sad day when it does happen because I think it will ruin.
I think coronavirus has actually pushed it forward even more. I think it's actually increased. Yeah, I think it's actually increased the speed of it because the money of it is just so much more significant that the bigger clubs want to get in on it early. probably because of the losses that they're making.
You've got to remember as well, if it does happen, right? Yes, we get Barca, Liverpool, and Madrid, and Chelsea, and Man U, Juve, and all these massive games, but it would take away things like the Merseyside derby.
Yeah, and listen, if you're seeing these massive games at least twice a season, then they're not massive games anymore. Let's be honest.
Exactly. It takes away.
There'd still be that
lot.
allure for me. I mean, a big game's still a big game, but it's more a case of Manchester United's playing in Barcelona one week, or in Shanghai, like you're saying, the next week, or in Houston the week after that. How many Manchester United fans are actually going to be able to go to those games as well?
Well, I mean, knowing your club, probably loads.
fair enough.
Fans everywhere.
I'll give you that.
It's
But
called being a big club. It's called being a global club. You wouldn't know about that support.
Yeah, and how many of these fans have ever stepped foot inside Old Trafford's postcode? Fucking none of them. So
it doesn't matter. Just because you live close to the stadium, that doesn't make you a bigger fan.
But you get my point.
Look, that's a whole nother debate.
I'm just saying the atmosphere just wouldn't be there at these
games.
games.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, if anyone's ever been to an NBA game here, when you go, it's not like a game atmosphere. It's a family day out. We went, and I went in January, and there was just no rivalry. There's no atmosphere. It's just, I think with the NBA, the only time you get atmosphere is when you get to the finals. For just regular season game, it's just a family day out, and that's what I think this league will turn into, which would just be a shame.
I just get the feeling of, like, if you're playing all over the world at that point, how much is Manchester United going to feel like an actual Manchester club at that point?
Yeah, because you're never in fucking Manchester. I mean, I think we need to discuss this weekend's games before we wrap up.
What about the Everton-Liverpool game? The officials?
I was going to say, we haven't covered that yet.
Let's
John, have we got time to cover that?
We need to quickly discuss, obviously, the Van Dijk injury, as well as, obviously, 2-2 draw and everything. But it wasn't that interesting. I'm not being funny. It was one of the only games I rewatched this week. And the tackle was the most important part of the game.
I mean, I was entertained, but
I thought it was an okay game, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting for me to see how Everton would match up, because Everton were on a roll. Liverpool had that poor goal against Villa. It was a lot of intrigue for me. But the only thing really to talk about is the tackle and the offside. So we'll start with the tackle. Now, it's a horrific challenge. Let me just get out there. I don't think there's any real malice from Pickford. I think he sees the ball near his net, and he is making himself as big as possible to try and stop it. And in the process, is just chopped Van Dijk down. But I've got to say, the carry-on from Liverpool fans about this injury is just laughable. It's football. It fucking happens. It's a shame. I think Van Dijk in his position is the best in the world. It's a shame it's happened. It's a shame he's been out for this long. But the fucking carry-on has been embarrassing. You got fucking... It's like he's fucking died. It's ridiculous.
Been a bit ridiculous. But
it's ridiculous.
Liverpool fans, you know what I mean? They can be as annoying as they are. They can get under my skin as much as they do. But I actually do sympathise with them a bit, because they did this appeal thing afterwards for those two decisions. I think they just, or at least wanted some clarification on them. In my mind, Jordan Pickford should definitely have got a ban after this game. Fair enough, he didn't get it on the day. Wrong decision was made. But in retrospective, looking at this, I don't see how anyone could look back at that and say that you shouldn't be punished for it.
Has there been a comment on that? Do we know why they didn't punish in the end?
I think it's all to do with the referees made the decision on the day.
It's them protecting these fucking refs again. That's what it is. Honestly, they've had more protection than fucking Bobby Beale and EastEnders. Excuses after excuse after excuse. We always hear it's a difficult job. Yes, it is, but most jobs are fucking difficult. But if we're shit at them, we get told that we're shit.
I forgot about the first game of the season. Kieran still got a bone to pick about that.
That game
versus Liverpool should have been
the
a
game. We're not going to get,
draw.
because that game is gone. I mean, like I said, the penalty against Koch was an absolute. It's ridiculous. It's hit his knee, bounced onto his arm, but. I mean, that is an awful decision, but the decisions we've seen since have made that look sane. That's how bad the officiating's been since then. I mean, Pickford has not been banned because the FA or the Premier League want to protect their officials. It's as simple as that. They don't want to come out and say, yeah, they made a mistake, we're going to ban him. It's really as simple as that. The VAR person has come out and said he didn't know he could have recommended to send him off.
Oh,
how ridiculous is that?
I mean, I'm curious to know, because they seem so focused in the VAR of checking for offside. Let's say it was onside. Is Pickford then sent off? That's what I'd want to ask them.
Well, he should be, because
to me, no, but do you get my point? Because if that's their
is
justification for not giving something because they were focusing first on whether it's offside or not, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
But to me,
You know what I
it's
mean?
violent conduct. It's like
Yeah,
when you
that's
see
why I think
players
you
get
should.
sent off after the final whistle. The game's done, but you're still on the pitch, and it's violent conduct. It's a red. It's just ridiculous, and it leads us on to the offside at the end of the game, because I've seen it 3 or 4 times now, and I still can't figure out how Mane is offside.
I can't either.
It
Like,
is
again,
absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Shay, you've got strong thoughts on this.
I just can't see where they've given what they've given it for. It's clearly onside. You can't be offside with your arm anyway. They've literally bottled that decision. The 2 biggest decisions in that game, the Van Dijk challenge and that offside, the officials have bottled it. Honestly, I mean, how is it possible that a VAR person who's got a camera, who can look over things over and over and over again, has not given that? And yet again, it is a common pattern of big errors from officials all across the country. I mean, the quality of officiating in this country is an absolute disgrace.
It's ridiculous. I mean, like I said, I've looked at it 3 or 4 times. I can't see how he's offside. And to decide a game like that, based on a decision like that, it's making it farcical now. It's ruining the integrity of the game. Because like I keep saying, as far as I'm concerned, Liverpool won that game 3-2. How on earth can you sit there and say that's not a goal? It's ruined the integrity of the competition. Because yes, Everton have got a point, but realistically, everyone with the footballing brain knows they lost that game.
I mean, and it's like we said, wasn't the whole point of VAR anyway, for clear and obvious decisions?
Exactly.
And what's clear and obvious about that one to start with?
Did he have a boner? Maybe he was offside because he had a fucking boner. That's the only thing I can fucking think of.
And his back's the goal as well, so I don't see where the advantage is there. Don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely happy with the result, just because I didn't want Liverpool to win. You know, I want Everton to do well just with the start that they've had. They've looked good, but everything about that decision was wrong for me. It just didn't make any sense.
If it happens to any of our 3 clubs, we would be fucking fuming. Like, it would... I mean, I was angry enough with the Robin Koch decision against Liverpool. If that had happened to Leeds, I probably would be going out to Stockley Park myself, because I'd want an explanation. Like, it's just a joke. But I think we need to
on that
note, this weekend games.
Yeah, exactly. Should we start with? We'll start with Villa versus Leeds happening on Friday. Obviously, should be a big one. We've got Aston Villa in top form. And Leeds obviously playing the same way they've done all season. It should be a really good game.
We need to bounce back from the Wolves game. Like I said, I don't think we played badly, but ultimately like Shay said, we lost ultimately. So I think we do need to pick up some points there. The big blow is obviously Calvin Phillips is ruled out for 6 weeks. It's huge. I mean, not only for the coverage, it's not just for the coverage provides the defence, because I think Pascal Struijk will play there, who can do that job well, but his distribution, the way he starts attacks, it is a big loss. But Villa have had a great start, but they're not a Liverpool. So I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to be positive. I'll say 2-1 Leeds, because I think it's a game where we can win, even without Phillips.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to actually say 3-1 Villa. And I know that might sound strange, Kieran, but without Phillips, your defence might be in the shambles. Villa are just on it. They've got Watkins now. They really are in prime position to do well.
I mean, but that will mean them going 5 in a row, which is, I mean, if they do it, fair enough. But I just feel like this run will come to an end sooner rather than later, to be honest.
I'm going to say, I think 2-2 draw. I reckon
there'll be goals, definitely.
I reckon, I was going to say, it feels like there'll be goals because your defence typically has looked a bit open and a bit leaky. And Villa always, for me, look a little suspect at the back, but they've actually reinforced well this year, attacking-wise. Got some more options for Grealish to, help him out. And Watkins, Barkley, Traore, I think was a good signing from Lyon as well. So I can see there being goals. And I think with the form both teams are in, just because of the pressure you put on, and Villa just are on a high right now, I could see it just being a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, Shay?
Obviously, I want to see Leeds take another L, of course. But if I'm honest with you, I think it'll be a very tight game between 2 very resilient teams. Both teams are very resilient. Neither of them have got smacked up as of yet. But I think Villa will edge it 2-1. And D. Smith and John Terry did a fantastic job there up in the West Midlands. So I think Villa will win 2-1.
We'll discuss. I mean, before we go, there's 2 more games I think we need to just look ahead to. So Man U, Chelsea. This is an interesting one, because I think both teams going forward can hurt you, but both teams at the back will give you goals. I think there'll be definite goals in this game. It's really hard to predict because it's just 2 teams that are so inconsistent. It's just, I mean, where is it, James? Where is it? Is it Old Trafford? It actually doesn't really matter at the minute, does it? It's no fans.
Old Trafford.
I feel like it's Old Trafford, yeah. Yeah.
It's a trick. I mean, to me, I think it has got draw written all over it, but I think it will be. I'm going to go for a 3-3. You know, there'll be goals in this game.
Galore.
There's going forward, they can both hurt you, but defensively, they're just fucking suspect. Yeah, 3-3.
I have a feeling it's. I don't want to be negative, but I think it's going to be a draw as well. But I think it's going to be very tight. Actually, I think it's just going to be a 1-1 draw. I think we'll probably feel a very similar team to what we did against PSG. I reckon we'll go 5 at the back again, just because of how well we played. But I do think it limits us, obviously, a bit going forward. And I just think Chelsea, off of the back of that 0-0 that they got against Sevilla, I think we'll just try and build off that. And it may just make them a bit more resilient at the back, but also a bit, less firepower going forward. Because I don't think, after that 3-3 draw they got against Southampton, I think Frank just wants to shore up that defence.
See, I don't know. I honestly don't know what
It's a tough one to call this game. Yeah. It really is, because they're both consistently inconsistent.
I'm going to be honest. I think I can expect a United win. I have to admit, I think Chelsea's defence just aren't in it right now. But they could pull a surprise one. I'm going to say 2-1 United.
Yeah. What about you, Che?
I'm going for a ball draw, a 0-0.
Really?
Ooh.
Yes, both.
2 clean sheets with Kepa and David De Gea on the pitch.
Mendy's back in goal.
Yeah. Whenever I see both these two teams, unfortunately, they're going to bore us to sleep. Lampard bores people to sleep. And so does Ollie. He didn't last night, but, they both do. So a bore 0-0 draw, unfortunately.
Wow.
So, yeah,
I mean, just with there's only been, 1 0-0 in the whole of the Premier League so far?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bold statement.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, especially with those 2 goalies. What do
you mean those 2 goalies? De Gea's hasn't put a foot wrong since the start of the season.
David De Gea, the last 18 months to 2 years has been fucking shocking. Some of the mistakes he makes are just absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's like the different goalie.
Different conversation, but I think people are a bit harsh on him personally. I mean, you know how much I love him, but at the same time, Edison, for me, made quite a few errors for City last year. Hardly anyone put the scrutiny on him.
That's a very good point.
I think it's just the level that De Gea set himself. And I can't blame him.
No, that is true. He was absolutely top quality for a few years, and that's a good point. He's dipped below that. People noticed it. The last game, Leicester-Arsenal. This is also a very interesting one. Obviously, for me, I always love to see Arsenal get slapped. It's just funny, but
is Vardy still injured though?
Is Vardy injured?
Yeah, he didn't play against Villa the other day.
This is an interesting one because Arteta against the big teams goes 5 at the back and will look to hit teams on the break. Against the smaller teams, I think he will go for a 4 and he'll try and play a bit more. He'll try and be a bit more attacking. Leicester's interesting because Leicester aren't what you'd say are a big team, but they can rip teams to pieces. Even without Vardy playing, they can still rip teams to pieces. They rip City to pieces. So,
I mean, at the time of recording, they're currently 2-0 up against Ukrainian Zorya Lunzak. Is that
yeah?
I mean,
to be honest, these early Europa League games, you're playing fucking championship level teams, so it's just you take them with a pinch of salt. But Leicester can rip you apart if they get any kind of space. So it'll be interesting to see what Arteta does for this. I'm gonna go 3-1 Leicester.
Shay,
I think it will be a 1-1 draw. And we actually don't have a great record against Leicester. They actually know how to stifle us and frustrate us. Leicester don't get beat very easily, so I think it'll be very tight. I think they'll score past us. I want to say 2-1, but I believe it'll be a 1-1 draw. Who knows? But if we're to get in the top 4, these are the kind of games we have to win because Leicester is a top 4 rival. That's
what Arsenal are famous for. That's what Leicester are famous for: crisps and beating Arsenal. So that's why I said 3-1.
I think Arsenal are going to walk this one quite easy, actually. I think it's going to be 3-1. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if Jamie Vardy will still be injured for the game, but to my knowledge, I think Ndidi is. I think Soyuncu is. Is Pereira still injured as well at right back? I just think they're missing a few of their best players that we've seen over the past year. And I just think it's you can notice it when they don't play for the Leicester team. Aubameyang, he's had a bit of a drought at the moment for Arsenal, and I think he's going to break that. I reckon 3-1 Arsenal.
I'm just looking at their recent games now, and I see up until today they've had 2 goalless games against Villa and West Ham, but then scored 5 against City. So what does that tell you? I reckon I'm just going to go with my gut here. They've got James Justin, old Luton boy, playing for them, and I reckon it'll be a 2-1.
He left who's your shit. James Justin. Well, sorry, what'd you say? 2-1
Yeah.
Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. That's what I reckon.
Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting weekend. There's some good games on. But I think that's where we wrap it up. Do you think?
So, like we said, we've got some big games coming up: Leeds, Villa, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Leicester. Everyone, enjoy the games, however you choose to watch them. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for listening to Football Shock with James, Shay, Kieran, and John. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Right.